Hello, so this is the bonus video. This is the final shift from the 5 shifts webinar, and it's what I call Diffuse the Mindfields. Not the minefields, the mindfields. So Tony Robbins once said, it's never the environment. It's not the events in our lives, but the meaning we attach to those events, how we interpret them, that shapes who we are today and who we will become tomorrow. So I learned a long time ago that nothing has meaning except the meaning we give it. So have you ever noticed that whenever you want to make a change, whenever you decide to do something different, maybe you go to a seminar or attend a webinar, or you have this new epiphany, and you decide, I'm going to make this change. And the old way of doing it is, you just put your mind, let's do this. However, the reality is, when you go back into your environment, say you come back from a webinar or a seminar, and you know, like, oh, I'm going to give this a try. Well, when you go back into it, something happens where if you don't shift your environment has the ability to shift you. And that's because of something that's called negative anchors, and they drag you back into the old mindset. So when you want to make a definitive change, something triggers you to start that old habit again. So if say you're planning a diet, and then you're like, for me, my favorite food is McDonald's French fries. There's something about the amount of level in the trans fat that they put in there that once it's put in front of me, there's no stopping me. Like the trigger, it's not a negative anchor for me because I just don't put myself in front of McDonald's fries. However, it triggers in a response where it drags me back into nom mode. So that's an example of something in your environment. And if you want to make a positive change, there's a possibility that negative anchors can drag you back to your old mindset, back to square one. But now it could be even worse because you're aware of what could be, yet you don't know you don't know how to get back there, or maybe possibly, you just feel bad or you feel guilty about it. However, don't take it personally, because this happens with everyone. And there's a strategy that you can use so that this doesn't happen. So let me explain the concept of an anchor. Anchor is where we have a particular stimulus that elicits a particular memory or emotional response. And these responses can be either positive or they can be negative, and they influence our subsequent behavior. So it works something like this. A stimulus creates a response, like a chemical response in our brain. Like, I see French fries, and so there's something in my brain that just goes off and it causes a behavior. I will eat those French fries. So the new way of handling it is to work with your environment, not against it. So, for example, I'm working with a couple. We're doing couples coaching, and there are things that both partners do that triggers the other one into a state. So we identified some of those triggers, and we say, look, now that you know what triggers you, you can be aware that this is something that is going to create a state. Now you have a choice to choose. So if it's a person, if it's not a person, it's a negative, like it's an object. For example, I worked with a woman who lost her husband, and there would be reminders of him. That's not to say that she shouldn't keep the reminders, but if they're going to cause her to break down every time she sees it and put her in a negative state where she starts off the day horribly and it drags her down, it's probably something she should put away until we process and deal with the emotions. So we get rid of that negative anchor, put it away, put it in the drawer. If you don't need it, if it's not serving you, or you haven't processed it, take it out of your environment. Now, you can't remove people from your environment. Well, sometimes you can. Well, if you can't, then you can identify these items together or to yourself and say, look, when this happens with this person, I know I'm going to be in a negative state, and I know now that I'm going to have to prep myself. Use the frame of mind that I was talking about in another video to really set that frame of mind so you go in with the tension of not being triggered with it. And that's what it means to work with your environment, not vice against it. And the first step toward success is taken when you choose, like the you process, when you refuse to be captive of the environment in which you first find yourself. So what can you do? Well, you can explore your living spaces. Are there things there that elicit a negative emotion? If so, can you get rid of it? Can you hide it? Can you donate it? If you don't get rid of a negative emotion, or if you don't get rid of a negative emotion because you don't want to get rid of the person or the item, what you can do is you can train yourself to replace it with something more resourceful, such as relaxation, confidence, happiness, or gratitude. And that's what I do with a lot of my clients. I help them collapse these negative anchors and replace it with something new that empowers them to move forward. Now, what are some positive things? If you know you have a negative anchor, what are some positive things that you can learn to make yourself even stronger, better, and a more resourceful person? Because like I said earlier, these negative emotions are coming up as information. They want to be dealt with, and they don't want to be pushed back down or suppressed. So here's a trigger, or here's a bonus. There are things called triggers. Now this is different from an anchor. An anchor is a stimulus that goes to a response, that goes to a behavior. A trigger is something that happens, that elicits a behavior that creates a particular outcome. So there are two separate things that you can remove from your life: negative triggers and negative anchors. And so now when you make a change in your life, you don't have things in your environment that's blowing you up into a negative state, hence diffusing the minefields. So now let me ask you, what would happen if you could make a profound, life-altering change from the comfort of your home and make it last, all while having your home and workspace supporting you and also just propelling you into a new and better way of thinking? So for example, I worked with this beautiful lady, and she's she's a mover, she's a shaker, and she's great with people, she's great with presentations. However, she's not she hates paperwork. And so what would happen was she would have all these deals, businesses that she would close, yet it would sit there in an unorganized pile, and it became a negative trigger because she felt guilty about it, and she was procrastinating, and it just kind of snowballed. And so she almost missed earning a trip because of this stack of paperwork, because she just had to process. And it's not like she had to close the business, she just had to process it. So what we did the entire session was, like, I had her sit down in front of that stack, and I helped her organize every piece of it in a way that made sense, in a way that supported her, and I helped her create a system, because I'm good with systems. And moving forward now she has a system. She can file it so things aren't unorganized. She can put things in different stacks. She can make things electronic so she doesn't have a whole bunch of paper cluttering her, because she doesn't like clutter. And now when it comes to her business and her work, her stack of papers are no longer a negative anchor. So that's what I mean by diffusing these minefields. So those are some things that you can do in your home. You can do it not just for yourself, you can do it for your partner as well. So if you know something is going to trigger your partner, instead of having him watch this video or her watch this video, you can do that too. You can just help remove it for them. Remove that from your space, because when your home is in a good working order, where it has great energy, both you and your partner will flourish even better. You'll have a stronger relationship. You won't have to deal with shenanigans going around. And just remember, happy spouse, happy house. So that is the final shift. Diffuse your minefields. It's a very, very powerful one, because we have negative anchors in our life that sort of kind of sneak attack and ambush us, that take us into a negative space. And when we know what they are, we have a choice. We can remove them from our lives, or at least neutralize them. Work with someone who can neutralize them, so that they're not taking you out, and your environment, your home, will be a space that supports you in everything that you do. So do you see how this can be a game changer? So that is the final shift. Thank you so much, and we will chat soon. Bye now.